Good afternoon or evening, and thank you again for joining us. Kensington Senior Living has 7 unique communities, 4 located in Virginia, Maryland, and New York, and 3 sister communities located in California. We are truly privileged to support care partners and professionals coast to coast. Kensington focuses on relationship-based care, care built on the foundation of our promise to love and care for your family as we do our own. That promise was what initially drew me to become a member of the Kensington family, as my father lived at Kensington for almost 7 years. It is programs such as the one you are attending now that are so important for those of us walking through a caregiver journey, and hearing from expert professionals keeping us current with the latest advances in care management and treatment of conditions that affect seniors and their families. Today, you are in for a treat as the team from Opening Minds Through Art takes you on a journey of advice and guidance in your challenge with a loved one with dementia. And I am witness to art with people affected by dementia, as my father, who lived at Kensington Senior Living, produced some of the most amazing art in his journey through Alzheimer's. I guess it was just that he wasn't inhibited at all, and he wasn't worried about drawing outside the lines. But today, I'm so excited for you to meet our team. All the registrants from today will receive a copy of today's webinar in your inbox and links to connect with Opening Minds Through Art. Please share with friends and family. Now I'd like to please join me in welcoming Ashlee. Ashlee Cordell is a researcher and project coordinator at Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging and the Director of Curriculum and Outreach at Promoting Art and Intergenerational Relationships, PAIR, a nonprofit she co-founded in 2020. Ashlee's work focuses on developing and implementing non-pharmaceutical programs and services for individuals living with dementia and their care partners. Ashlee started her involvement in Opening Minds Through Art as a college student in 2014 and has serviced the program in many different ways ever since, including sharing her diverse experience and knowledge of the program, both domestically and internationally. Ashlee, I can't believe how young you are and what you've accomplished. Thank you for joining us today. And please join us again for the live Q&A. I want to remind the audience that you're welcome to submit questions in our live Q&A. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Susan, for that very kind introduction. I'm very happy to be kicking off our team. You'll get to hear about a couple of different resources that we have to offer through Scripps Gerontology and OMA, but overall, we're here to talk about art for the aging brain. It's my pleasure to start the conversation by talking about one of our staple programs, which is OMA, or Opening Minds Through Art. No better way to start off with what that is other than by telling you our mission statement, which is to build bridges across age and cognitive barriers through art. And so the overall goal of OMA is to establish value for all people, especially those living with dementia and other cognitive declines. And we do this through art making. Next slide, please. So just to lay the floor for some typical things that you may see in activities, these are some examples that we've pulled just to start the discussion for where the basis of OMA came from. And so some of these activities may seem simple to do on face value, coloring. You see these things pretty often and regularly. Coloring in and of itself isn't complex to do. However, in stages of dementia, it can become a pretty abstract process to deal. So the thought of having to do things in a certain way or draw within the lines and do it as it should be done can lead to these complexities. You also see here the jack-o'-lantern and the turkey hands. Same thing, pretty simple to construct, and you don't need to have a lot of supplies to do so. But thinking about the dexterity that it takes to place little googly eyes on a piece of paper, or to remain to have that understanding of that the googly eyes are meant to go above a nose and a mouth on an object. All of those thoughts and things become more complicated and perhaps fade when individuals go into those moderate and late stages of the disease. And then finally, you see something like the ring on the bottom right. Again, conceptually, very simple to put things in a wreath-like format, but does it bring much joy to a person if they're unable to complete a project successfully, or they know what it's supposed to look like, but they can't figure out how to get it to that point? And so thinking about ways that we can start thinking about activities as being typically easy, like these ones are, but they're actually pretty complicated to do when you throw cognitive decline in the mix. Whereas OMA projects that we'll discuss soon, they're complex looking and complex steps added, but they're actually very simple and easy to do one step at a time. Next slide, please. So a little bit more detail about OMA. It is an intergenerational program for people living with dementia, and it's intergenerational in the sense that we partner community or student volunteers one-on-one with individuals in long-term care facilities. And so typically we try to encourage the same partnership from week after week. We typically work on semesterly basis just because oftentimes that's how students' calendars are run. And so when we run a full program, the goal would be to have a student or a community person with that same resident for as long as our program is running. So if it's a semester, it's typically 15 or 16 weeks. And so the program itself was developed in 2007 at Scripps Gerontology Center. At that time of its development, it was created and fully focused and grounded in principles of person-centered care. And so a lot of the philosophies that went into this program are treating people as people first, and then how do we get across those other barriers to ensure that it's failure-free in nature. So the main premises of the program is that we always rely on imagination rather than memory. And we focus on those individuals' remaining strengths because we know that the strengths are still there. We just have to tap into them rather than their limitations or the condition that they have. And then through establishing new roles for them as artists, they also find a new sense of purpose, a new sense of contributions to themselves, but then other people that they may live with if they're in a community or their loved ones. And then finally, they can leave that legacy. And since the establishment in 2007, OMA has been replicated very largely across the US and Canada. We have over 200 locations at this point, but it is special to note that the founder and developer of OMA is currently in Indonesia on a Fulbright scholar taking her program to someplace new. So we're very excited about that. Next slide, please. So this whole concept of improved well-being is also something that's really important to human beings in general. And so thinking about Seligman's model of PERMA, which was first formulated and highly recognized in 2011, these 5 aspects of well-being are also key elements that we take into consideration in OMA. So like I said, every human being has a desire to live well, live happy, live purposefully. And so in thinking about how to create a program that could increase a person's well-being, these are some of the concepts that we think about and are really core and essential to how the program is run. So we're looking for things like positive emotion. Are they engaged in the activity? We don't want them to just be passive. The relationship building, because it's an intergenerational program, that relationship is always at the forefront of what we're thinking. And meaningfulness. So at the to encourage continued participation and involvement, it's really important that they find meaning in the work that they're doing, that they're contributing to something that they're proud of. And then at the end, accomplishment, so they can see an end product. They're happy with what they were able to contribute, so on and so forth. So these are very much the forefront of what we hope to see week to week, session to session. Next slide, please. OMA is inspired by real modern abstract art. And so some of the training that the volunteers and the leaders go through is to utilize very sophisticated language and pointing to the fact that the title of calling our residents artists is very much relevant to the fact that they are able to produce art too, just like artists that you might see having displays in a museum. And so the next couple of slides are going to walk through a couple of different examples, like the one I have behind me on my background. But go ahead and next slide, please. So you'll see as we're flipping through here, the different textures that are used in the art making process. In this example here, this is a collage piece that has a watercolor background, it looks like. And so you can see the depth that goes into a project and all the different color choices and the use of different day-to-day materials. So in this case, the collage is made out of, clippets of past artwork or painted tissue paper or things that are easily recycled from scrap that would have otherwise not had a purpose. Next slide, please. And in this one, you can see a lot of glitter, which is a staple of the Opening Minds Through Art program. So a lot of times the very last step of a piece will be the option to add that glitter at the end. And then one more. And here, this is an ink-based product. And so you can see a lot of very rich and vibrant colors in the image. We utilize a lot of stamping tools in this one. This is definitely our bottle cap stamper. And so we get fairly creative with the tools that we use too. So while a lot of it is artist grade, from the paper to the paints to the brushes that we use to give it that true artist feel, a lot of the tools that we use too are things that you can easily find around your house. And we've established ways to bring new purpose to materials. So this bottle cap stamper is just a bottle cap that's been hot glued to a wine cork. And so using things in new and creative ways and making beautiful prints in doing so. Next slide, please. And at the end of the semester, we always celebrate by doing an art show. And so this is an opportunity that just further showcases the work that has been created by the artists over the course of the program. It's always open to the community as well. So we invite the volunteers to come. We invite family members to come, other residents in the community, other family. And it's a great way to really celebrate the partnership that was created over the course of the semester, but then to bring recognition to the fact that these were all pieces of artwork that were created by persons living with dementia who oftentimes don't get that level of recognition on a day-to-day. Next slide, please. You'll see another screenshot here of just the excitement and the joy that happens during the art show. It really is a celebration of all the time that was spent together between the volunteers and the residents. And this is mid-dance. So there is even a little OMA dance that's put together based on the songs that we open and close our sessions with. And so people are able to join us sitting or standing, very simple movements, but just another added layer of excitement that sprinkles the OMA magic into the, no matter where you are. So how to get involved immediately in something like this. We do offer what's called facilitator training. And so these are for my folks on the call who are interested in bringing a program to where you are. We do offer trainings yearly at various times throughout the year. And there's 2 formats that we currently train in. There is a fully online option. So you would be able to take this from no matter where you are very conveniently. There's also a couple options to do hybrid. So what hybrid looks like is your upfront course training would be done online and from your computer, but then you would come in person to do what we call practicum, which is the hands-on art making experience. And what's different about the hybrid versus the online is those who did it online, you would have to do that practicum virtually too. So both options give you that art making experience, but for the hybrid, you're doing that art making in person rather than through a screen. The cost to attend the training is $1,000 US. It is a very highly rated training. We're very proud to share that it has received a very high star rating out of 5. We're sitting at almost a 4.9. So the satisfaction of training is something that we monitor every single cohort and hope to keep people coming time and time again. Next slide, please. And this is just a quick introduction to some of the Opening Minds Through Art process in action.
People with intact cognitions oftentimes try to free ourselves from the limitation of having to draw this thing that looks like that, you know. And when you are free from that, you can then break into the abstract world more directly. So when the ability to express is impaired, they think the content is gone. And that's where the violation of human rights come in, because the human is still there. It's just that they are locked behind the disease. It doesn't mean that there isn't somebody in there that's trying to express. And so art is a sort of channel. When logical thinking and verbal expression is impaired, art is still there for them to express.
And when I see what I do, and I realize how it comes out, I'm beside myself. Give her a little something.
Working with people with dementia and learning more about it, not just via textbook and what you see in movies, how it's portrayed, I guess. It's changed my experience at Miami because now it's everything that I do here. So I don't really know what I would have done without this program. I think that being involved with this has given me purpose on this campus. I work and I have friends and I feel like I'm doing stuff, but gerontology has made me feel like what I'm doing is really going to make a difference, especially at Miami, because I can be a part of the gerontology club that raises money and I can help the residents in the community, and it furthers my I don't know, drive to do that throughout my entire life.
Put an ocean and a river between everything you said and home. You must be somewhere in London. You must be loving your life and the rain. You must be somewhere.
Too often people with dementia in long-term care facilities, everything's decided for them, and they don't make decisions, and it takes too long, it's too confusing, and this is the 1 hour where they get to decide everything on their own. So choices are built in, opportunities for autonomy is built into the process, and then success is almost guaranteed.
There's no other experience possible, I think, that brings together two very different generations where they both benefit from an interaction with each other. And it goes back to our core values of love and honor and how we interact with others.
You see the very authentic relationship that they have formed and just how incredibly proud the artists are of the work that they have produced. You see them leave in a completely different mindset than they entered that room.
It's our obligation to provide as rich and a full experience for these individuals who are suffering with dementia as humanly possible.
The mission of the program is building bridges across age and cognitive barriers. So that bridge is actually a relationship, and within that relationship, at the foundation is love.
So I hope that leaves you with a little teaser about what the program is and how it could look for you and your community.
People with intact cognition.
Ashlee, that was, and Krysta who's manning that, but that was such an emotional video because our audience today, you know, I suspect they have someone with dementia, and this just gives you, you know, light in what they're thinking. And I just think it's tremendous. So thank you so much. And I love how you focus on strengths and not limitations. It's just so, so important. And that attention and how it also has a social aspect. Sorry, I'm so emotional, but that was so beautiful. So thank you for providing a social component, because solo aging is such a critical mass problem all over the world. And so I just think it's wonderful. And I have a question. Intergenerational, how young? Is there an age limit?
So we don't have a strict age limit. Since it was developed in a college setting, we typically utilize students who are able to drive, just because we do travel to communities. And so it has been successfully done with high school age students as well. It just gets a little bit more logistically taxing if you have to deal with, you know, carpools or something like that. But we find that students that are teenage years or higher have, you know, a really good connection, a really good understanding to the purpose of the program and, you know, the attention to detail and things of that nature that just really come week after week.
You know, the student that was talking about, you know, how her heart is full after volunteering time. And I just think it's a great thing for everyone. I don't care how old you are. So anyway, thank you for that. And I thought the video was fantastic. So I'm so glad that Krysta got the sound on. But please join us again for the live Q&A. And now I'd like to welcome Meghan. Meghan is the Associate Director for Opening Minds Through Art at Scripps Gerontology Center. Her career in aging and the arts began in a service learning class during her first year at Miami University, where she facilitated storytelling experiences for residents living with dementia in nursing homes. Since then, Meghan has worked on research projects dedicated to making communities age and dementia friendly, instructed intergenerational service learning courses for 3 years, and assisted long-term care providers with implementing art-based activities for their residents. She believes everyone, regardless of age or ability, can share their life story through arts. Boy, do I agree with that. Meghan, thank you so much for joining us. And don't keep it a secret, Meghan won't be joining us for the live Q&A because Meghan is engaged and has a site visit for her wedding venue. So we will miss you for the live Q&A, but Meghan will share with you all the resources that we have. Thank you so much, Meghan.
Thank you, Susan. It's great to be here with you all. I'm really excited to talk just a few minutes about the Creative Caregiving Guide, which is a free resource available now to you if you're interested and you want to check it out. So this guide was developed as a tool and a resource by the National Center for Creative Aging, which unfortunately has folded, but there's other organizations now that exist. But we didn't want to let all of the great content and lessons and different activities that were developed by master teaching artists to go to waste. So it lives on our website, on the OMA website, so we're very thankful for that. Again, it is a free resource, and it's designed for family and professional caregivers of any level. So you may have some background with the arts, you may have no background with the arts, and so it's developed so that anyone can pick it up and be successful at implementing it. It's filled with creative activities. On the next slide, it'll show just a few of the different categories. There's dance and movement lessons, there's music lessons, and it's not necessarily like playing musical instruments, but talking about music, maybe moving along to music. There's poetry and language lessons, which feature Ann Bastings from the Time Slips Initiative, if you know her, and Gary Gleisner from the Alzheimer's Poetry Project. So really big names in the creative aging space. And of course, visual arts, which features our own OMA program with Dr. Lokan. So we're really, again, proud to kind of house all of these great creative lessons and resources and things that are just free and available to those that want to try something new and want a new activity to engage in. So the structure of each lesson is the same. There's 5 components for no matter what lesson you dive into within those 4 categories. There's always a moment to consciously breathe and get ready for being prepared for the lesson. There's usually some kind of component of singing and moving together. What we do in OMA is we structure the program in a way so that when the artist and when someone comes back to this activity, they're like, oh yeah, I've been here before. I know what we're going to do. So that's why we structure all these activities the same way with the same kind of steps in every lesson, regardless of what the content of the lesson is. There's a call and response, which is just another way of kind of warming up and getting ready to be creative together. And then you actually do the activity, whether that's with music, whether that's with art or poetry. That's when you get to do the meat of the lesson. And then you get to savor the moment and just kind of enjoy what you've done together and talk about it. So again, it's very simple, very easy to follow. All of the activities have video components. So you just watch a quick video and then you know how to carry on that component. There's written lessons as well if you're someone who likes to read rather than watch a video, but it's just kind of fun to dive in and see what you might be able to do, and you might be inspired by some of the projects. I know one of them we talk about Van Gogh's Starry Night, and so maybe you take some of those questions or some of those prompts and think about some artwork that may be important to your loved one or a person you care for and adapt the questions in the activity to fit their needs or their interests. And so that way it becomes even more person-centered to who you're caring for. So this is just a brief, really quick overview. I didn't want to give too much away about it just because it's kind of fun to dive in and see what's available. But if you have any questions about it, again, I won't be able to join at the end, but Krysta and Ashlee are both going to be able to answer any questions about it. So thank you again for having me. I'm so sorry I have to jump off early, but I know
I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I just think it's great. And it's such a wonderful experience. So enjoy every minute of it. But
thank you.
You know, this creative caregiving guide, that is just so cool. And, you know, I'm thinking when it became more and more difficult for me to visit my dad, and, you know, certainly for my children, my husband, my brother, his family, because especially my brother didn't live in the same, you know, in the same state. And I'm thinking you could share this caregiving guide with your family and friends to make those visits easier, just to engage in different ways. So I think it's fabulous. And I love the fact that we can share that and everyone will receive the exact link. And I encourage everybody to share that with friends and family. So thank you and enjoy your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Last but not least, please join me in welcoming Krysta Peterson. Super excited. I met Krysta through a program that she did with HFC, a nonprofit founded by Lauren Miller Rogan, to raise money, respite hours for those. Her mother passed away from early onset Alzheimer's. So thank you, Krysta, for coming. And she is the Assistant Director of Opening Minds Through Art at Scripps Gerontology Center. She first became involved with OMA in 2010 as a student at Miami. Upon returning as a Peace Corps volunteer in China, Krysta has been a caregiver, served as a volunteer coordinator in hospice, and co-founded a nonprofit organization to promote OMA in and around Northeast Ohio. Through her various positions, Krysta has facilitated programming, led facilitator trainings, and coordinated relationships between universities and long-term care facilities. So important. She loves to build relationship and help others explore the passion that she has had since becoming an OMA volunteer. Krysta, thank you so much for joining us. And again, you're too young for all of that. And the Peace Corps in China and everything that you have done for the community at large. Thank you so much. And you are young, so you have so much more forward to look forward to. So I'll see you in a little bit at the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Such a pleasure to have met Susan through the HFC conference. And Susan said it about all of us that we seem too young, but even hearing Ashlee and Meghan's intros, I'm like, oh my gosh, I work with amazing people. I love what I do, being part of the OMA team since 2010, like Susan mentioned. I started as an OMA volunteer and just fell in love. And I knew that I would be doing this for the rest of my life. As a Peace Corps volunteer, even coming home, my first call was Dr. Lokan because it made such an impact on me. As we all know, let me screen share real quick, sorry. The pandemic hit very surprisingly for many of us. So because of that, a lot had changed for OMA and what it looked like specifically at Miami University. So we had to adapt from taking our students from the campus to different communities in the area. So we ended up creating what we called virtual OMA. So instead of meeting weekly to attend OMA sessions at different long-term care communities around Miami universities, students would get on weekly into Zoom rooms with older adults with and without dementia. And then we would break them up into smaller groups of about 3 students with 1 older adult, where again, they would meet weekly together in those same small groups in breakout rooms to discuss different forms of art, including visual arts, music, storytelling, story building, and poetry. each session is about 75 minutes, so it's a long time to sit together. So again, we're using that 75-minute conversation with the older adults and the students to get to know each other, form relationships, much like we do during in-person OMA, but using art as that tool to form a deeper connection. I think one of the things that blows me away, and obviously we're all nervous, not knowing what Zoom would create for all of us, but I still get goosebumps, much like the video. And Susan, your reaction was how I feel every time, and I see that video probably weekly, and I still am so overwhelmed by it. And so something so beautiful that came out of virtual OMA was we were still able to see those beautiful relationships and bonds grow. So from the success of those classes, we thought we have to get this out to more people. So we also created what is now called Scripps AVID. So OMA received funding through the National Endowment of the Arts and Next 50 to be able to build this website where older adults and students can connect with each other. So AVID stands for Arts-Based, Virtual, Intergenerational, and Dementia Friendly. It's free to use for everybody. What happens is you create an account, some general information we need. So for example, what generation you're in and your availability to connect. From there, I get all of your information on the back end, and I find someone from a different generation and someone who has the same time availability as you, no matter what your time zone. It racks my brain sometimes, but I make sure that everyone can connect at the same time. And then we match you guys together, and you meet on a weekly basis to become video pals. No artistic skills are required. Really, all that we're looking for is for someone interested to talk to somebody from a different generation. Here in this slide, you can see what an AVID meetup looks like, where two people can video chat on a platform. So this is this like yellow box with the two images is your screen. That's your desktop. So you would see yourself, and then you can also see your match. And then on the right side, you would have over 70 art prompts to choose from. I think the great thing about this is some people just instantly connect and they start talking and they get to know each other a little bit organically that way. But sometimes that's really difficult. It can be hard to just, oh, here's this random person, let's be friends. So the art prompts are there to help you form those relationships and find things to talk about and how get to know each other. So they're all low-tech projects that are easily accessible materials. For example, one of them, like this one here shown, is tracing kitchen utensils. So you can just run to your kitchen real quick, grab whatever you've got laying around, a piece of paper and a pen. You trace them just how the prompt shows. So it tells you how to do the project. And then below, this is where we're really trying to create the relationship between the two people, are questions related to the project you just did. So something like tracing kitchen utensils. Did you enjoy the process? What about the result? What's your favorite dish to cook? Do you have a favorite recipe? Things of that sort. So while it's, yes, again, art, you're getting into more stories, like I would talk about instantly the Joy of Cooking cookbook that sat on my counter for years because my grandmother had a page saved for her bread recipe. And then you have dialogue back and forth about what that looks like. And again, forming those relationships together. So I think the beautiful thing here, again, is two complete strangers can really build a relationship. We had a pilot session this last spring semester, so January through May at Miami University, where we had over 40 older adults and 40 students connect. And some of them are still connecting today. So it ended in May, but they loved the experience so much that they still use AVID throughout the summer months, and they're looking forward to joining us again come the fall semester. Another great thing that I thought was really interesting at the end of the semester, doing some groups kind of debriefing how the pilot went, was everybody found a reason why they were matched with who they were matched. And again, if you remember, I said, all I need to know is what generation you are and what kind of availability you have. And outside of that, I know nothing about you. unless you're, one of my coworkers or things of that sort. But everybody came away with, you matched us because she's studying culinary and I'm a cook, or you matched us because I traveled to Italy and she's Italian, or something. They, through this relationship building and this growth through the program, they were able to find that thing that made them seem like they were a perfect fit together. Some great conversations were had, some beautiful quotes and time. The woman in the picture here says that she had told us that it made her feel connected to the world again, especially coming out of COVID, figuring out what it all looks like. How do you form those relationships with students? The same thing. It's really beautiful to see their changes in demeanor. One of the students told me that they never knew that they needed to have an older adult friend. And AVID helped them realize that, like, why don't they have more friends that are older adults, and that they want to go out and kind of explore that for themselves. And I think that's the world we need. That's where we're headed with the aging population, obviously growing daily. All of these young students are going to be involved in some way with older adults. And so if we can kind of break those barriers or those walls of fear or just unknowing, we're happy to do it, and so excited for all of them involved. So ending our call today is just our call to action, hoping that you can help us spread the word of the different things that we've shared with you today, starting with Ashlee's, the facilitator training. Like she said, we have a hybrid or a fully virtual option. The hybrids take place in Ohio, either Cleveland or at Miami University, which is near Cincinnati, or in Virginia. We also offer hybrid trainings. There is grants available for Virginia-based nursing homes specifically, and you can find all of that on our website. We also have a certificate course through Educate. This is kind of a step down from the facilitator course. It's more about the importance of intergenerational relationship building and art in a facility or in a community, and using OMA kind of as that case study. The creative caregiving guide, like Meghan talked about a little bit. Of course, we always welcome donations. We are a nonprofit program out of Miami University, trying to reach as many people as we can, so you can donate to us. And then you can also sign up for our quarterly e-news and updates on our website. Contact information is there, and I believe our last slide also, more contact information, and then our Facebook and Instagram if you would like to follow us and see what's going on. Some of these also include updates from Lika in Indonesia, which is really cool.
I encourage everybody to sign up for the newsletter. I'm doing that now. And Krysta, you're an incredible volunteer, and now you can add matchmaker.
I like that
resume. You're just a woman of so many skills. But I just have to reiterate the positive reinforcement of working with elders. It's just so good for any generation, because, the alternative, you're either going to get older or you're not. And so spending time with the elderly community, and even with people with dementia, and just understanding more of their challenges, I just think is so valuable for everybody. We have a couple questions that came in, and I'm so proud of myself that I can answer the first one, so I'll go with that. It says, do you have any ideas when family visits loved ones to foster engagement? And I think you download the creative caregiving guide, which we talked about before. I mean, what a great resource for everyone to share with friends and families. But here's a question that came in. And Ashlee, do you want to join us? Oh, there you are. See, it's like I just snapped my finger. How do you guys have any advice on how to help a family member adjust to an assisted living or even an independent living facility or senior living environment, even if they don't have dementia? Do you have any thoughts on that? Is there something different or different approach?
I think engagement is a huge part. I mean, you're going to know your family member best of what is that fear? Why are they hesitant about the move? What are they scared about? I think obviously they feel like they're losing, not obviously, but they could feel like they're losing some sort of their independence. And that's kind of the backing of OMA is a lot of times once you go into a community, by no means in a harmful way towards caregivers, but you're being told when to get dressed, when to eat breakfast, when to go to bingo. All of these things are being done for you. And so again, into the principles of OMA is we're giving them choice back. So what ways can you make the move into a facility feel like something that they still have control over? Whether it's things in their room or outfits that they want to wear, or what they're putting on the walls, but then also how they engage with the community around them. If they don't want to go to an activity, I don't think they need to be forced to that. Like, let's sit down and figure out what it is they need instead, having those conversations.
And with art, what's so wonderful is you can choose your medium. You know, do you want a watercolor? Do you want a pastel, a color? Do you want a primary color? Do you want the glitter? I love the glitter.
Yeah, so much glitter.
It's so interactive, right? And then you can see it on your hands. It's just so nice. So here's another question from Julie, and I think you may have answered this, but to reiterate, it might not be bad. She said, what kind of training do students receive before working with the elders?
Sure. So
I can
go ahead.
Krysta. Okay. For OMA specifically, they get trained on different communication tactics and how to engage, just general general types of questions to ask, how to be okay with pauses, how to get a feel for what it's like to work with somebody who's different than you are. So we go through a little bit of communication training and comfort, and then there is a little bit of Dementia 101 knowledge that is built into the program too. So we kind of demystify what is dementia versus what is normal signs of aging. So kind of that general level understanding of some of the perceptions that they may already have before going into the session. And then there's also a little sprinkle of, how their role fits into the picture. So what does it mean to be a volunteer for this program? So what are your expectations? So the expectation is that you come with your full center focus on that person for the day. We train the volunteers to try to leave their baggage at the door, their distractions at the door, to be present during their time, and to really put themselves full-heartedly into the program.
Good character training.
Yeah.
Because clearly you can have wonderful parents.
So much. Yeah.
Just patting you guys on the back. You can tell your parents I said that. Well, thank you so much. And there was another comment that came in the Q&A that she said, what a wonderful presentation, and that her mother, I think it's her mother, would absolutely love something like this. So I am so excited that we could share what you do with our community. And again, I just want to remind everybody that they will receive the entire presentation, so you can rewatch it or send it to family members. But I do encourage everybody to support your efforts. Sign up for the newsletter, donate if you can. Is there a way you can buy art?
There is. On our website, we do have a store that you can buy art. We print it on, you can buy prints, but we also print it on masks and scarves and dresses and t-shirts. So you can get a little bit more creative with the art as well.
Oh my gosh, it just keeps sharing. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, ladies. And I know it's late back there. It's not as late here on the West Coast, but thank you so much. Good night, good evening, everyone. And thank you again. Take care.